welcome back to my whiskey pick of the week. You know I'm Eric the Whiskey Guy, and as always, as usual, and as expected, I'm bringing you a treat this week, or hopefully I am. This week we are going to go north of the border and try some Canadian whiskey by way of Houston, Texas. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this week we're going to be trying the Florida Select Club whiskey, and I'm a little bit nervous. Because when it comes to Canadian whiskey, it can be hit or miss, and 7 out of 10 is gonna be a strike. But we're gonna see how it is. This bottle caught my eye for obvious reasons. I was strolling down the aisles at the liquor store and kept walking by the Florida flag, and one day I just said, you know what, I want the pouch. So I'm gonna get it. It didn't nowhere near break the bank. I believe this was a $20 bottle, and I'm gonna get into that. And I think I overpaid for it, but there's reasons why I say that. So we're gonna see if the Florida Select Whiskey Club is any good. I definitely love the pouch. Now the bottle, oh my God, the bottle, it does not get any more Floridian than this. I hope you can get a good look at it. This bottle, it's a sunset in the Everglades with an alligator laying out. It don't get no more Florida than that. They might as well said Florida Man presents Canadian whiskey. Now on the back, it kind of goes through the reasons and the tributes why they made this bottle for Florida, and basically it names everything but the space shuttles, Kennedy Space Center, Disney World, and NASCAR. That's the only 3 things they missed out on this bottle. They talk about St. Augustine, the oldest establishment in the United States, iconic alligators, 663 miles of beautiful sandy beaches, over 700 national fresh spring waters, the largest citrus production state. So they talk about a lot of stuff. This is when you sell those vacation packages, they got your whole strip of what to say on the back of the bottle. You can come for 3 days, 4 nights, or you can go to 3 days and 2 nights for $69. That's what it sounds like to me. This got a telemarketing script written all on it, and I'm not surprised. It's Canadian whiskey. They got their own little region of whiskey, and they probably sat in the room and was like, how can we get some people in Florida to buy our whiskey? And somebody raised their hand and said, if you put the Florida flag on the bottle, near the bottle, or around the bottle, there's a few dummies that will buy it. And ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at one, because this is the whole reason why I got it. Now, I did try this brand before. They got a lot of different flavors and varieties. I had the pecan. I usually get the pecan around like Thanksgiving, around the holidays. It's a nice little drink when you want to do shots. I call it it's for my whiskey friends that don't really like whiskey. They prefer doing a shot of Fireball, so I'll bring out the pecan and they love it. So let's see if this tastes more like a shot whiskey or a sipping whiskey. I'm kind of on the fence. It can go either way. I like to do a little research on the bottles that I get, just so I know what I'm talking about. And this brand absolutely doesn't give you not one idea or clue who they are. They keep it so simple. I looked on their website. Their website is generic. My business website is more put together than their website. Their Facebook page is generic, like the same person monitor both of them, and they don't really give you anything. I know they're from Houston, Texas. It says it said it was imported by Elite Brands, Houston, Texas. So I googled that. It came up a liquor store. So I don't know if they actually make this in the back of the liquor store in Houston, Texas, or they actually got another one, or they just don't want you to know exactly who they are. Now, Canadian whiskey is kind of like their own little region of whiskeys or bourbons. It's kind of like if whiskey was a city like New York. Yeah. Irish whiskey, that'll be a borough. Your Scotch will be a borough. Canadian whiskey will be a borough. And you got your American whiskey. So you got your different areas of the cities. Now, anytime you got a city, somebody is always going to be the Manhattan. You're upscale. But everybody can't be Manhattan. Somebody has to be at the bottom of the totem pole. And unfortunately, this time around, or in this case, it would be Canadian whiskey. They are the bottom feeders. They are the bottom of the food chain when it comes to whiskey. And it's really no fault of theirs. It's just how the cookie crumbles. Because not only are you having to compete with Irish whiskey, Scotch, oh man, Tennessee whiskey, straight Kentucky bourbon. Then you got them, and their big dog. Their big dog out of all their bottles will have to be probably, as far as popularity. Now, quality-wise, I'm gonna say it's probably the Alberta Premium. That's probably gonna be your top of the top. But as far as popularity goes, obviously it'll be Crown. Now, even with Crown being your most popular bottle in Canada, I would say 4 out of 10 people don't even know it's whiskey. They just drink it because it's Crown. And that's one of your big dogs to bring to the fight. So they get lost. They at the bottom. But we'll see. Now, I did read a blog online, and obviously when you read like articles and blogs, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt. But it was kind of interesting how they even started off. Now, I'm sure it wasn't nobody here in the States that wrote it just by how the wording was. The first couple of lines, they tried to explain why the Canadian whiskey as a whole, their little neighborhood, their borough, is so cheap. And they came up with a million reasons why. They even started off with Canadian whiskey has a bad rap for being inexpensive. So I knew nobody in America wrote that, because that's like our way of saying what we were saying, something like that. Word on the street, Canadian whiskey is cheap. But they kind of went through it. They kind of blamed it on how it was like, out of all their citizens in Canada, 4.7 million of them identify themselves as being their origin from Scotland. So they're like saying, so 4.7 million, they gonna drink Scotch because they think they Scottish, but they really Canadian. So they tried to throw that. Then they tried to blame Prohibition. Like, they just had so many customers in America that when it was illegal here, they almost ran out of business. What about your customers in Canada? Why are they not drinking Canadian whiskey? And then last but not least, they said after Prohibition, they said the only reason why they even stayed afloat was they had to smuggle in the whiskey to the bootleggers during Prohibition. But after Prohibition, when everything got finally back established, good old Uncle Sam wanted to tax them 9.19% tax. So they was like, ooh, that's steep. So that's some of the reasons why Canadian whiskey is so cheap. The reason why Uncle Sam tried to tax you almost 10% is Uncle Sam knew you've been smuggling in whiskey tax-free for almost 10 years and became billionaires off of Prohibition. Uncle Sam said, we know you got it because we see you, we allowed you in here, so you can afford the 10%. So the reason why it's so inexpensive is because you don't have good quality bourbon. You just don't. So they can go in there and kind of have a chip on their shoulders and want to know why Americans don't drink Canadian bourbon, because we're too busy drinking straight Kentucky bourbon. We're not drinking Canadian whiskey. But every now and again, you know, you got your people that drink the CCs, the Canadian clubs. But if you look at it, next time you go to the shelf, just look at the Canadian whiskey. You got Canadian Mist. That tastes like Bengay and Robitussin mixed together. You got Canadian Mist. You got Canadian Club. You got everything that got a club behind it or in front of it is really a no-go. But I'm not gonna hold this towards the Florida Select Club. I'm not gonna do it. So let's see if it's good. Has a very, very light tint to it. I guess that's the Canadian Club, and for some reason, like when you smell it, they go out their way to make sure that it don't smell like Scotch, it don't smell like Irish whiskey, and it definitely don't smell like nothing that come out of America. They make it known this is different. So it kind of got a smell that if you like to smell it first, it always throw you off. You're like, oh, what is this? And again, like it smell like you can wash windows with this, but it might be good. It's your average, common, day-to-day Canadian bourbon. It's all whiskey, Canadian whiskey. If you got a Sam's membership, or you go into the Sam's liquor store, they got a members mark Canadian whiskey, and it's just like this, the same bottle, but you get a handle, you get a 1.75 for the same amount you pay for this one. This one is it got a little bit more potent in it. Like they actually set these barrels aside to sell for the Florida program, I guess. So it's just your regular one. But like I've noticed, like I've said in previous videos, there's no such thing as bad whiskey. There's absolutely no such thing, because we found out that there's so many things that you can do to make it drinkable or to enjoy it. Last week we went over bitters with the Sazeracs, and you can definitely do that with this. This will really probably piss off the Canadians if you just add a couple bitters to their Canadian whiskey and say no, this is not Louisiana whiskey. So this is Eric, man, the whiskey guy. We're gonna do it all again next week. I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna enjoy this sip. I might wash the windows with it, grab my squeegee. No, I'm just kidding, man. It's not bad whiskey. It's 80% proof. Like I said, it's about $21, so it won't break the bank. It'll definitely get you a buzz. Drink with modest, drink responsibly, or you will have a headache tomorrow. But other than that, it's Canadian whiskey. Y'all have a wonderful day.